Back. Today I'm going to talk about something that I think is pretty important in joinery in particular, and it's preparing your timber for marking out and doing a marking out. So when you're doing a bit of joinery, you may not always have the right bit of timber or the right shape or the right size. So you're going to have to plane it down. You're going to have to shape it, turn it into the size that you want. That being the case, then you've got to prepare the face. You've got to prepare all the faces, get them square to each other, and then that enables you to mark it out and to cut the joints into it, and everything stays in sync and everything stays as it should do. So to do this, you're going to need not many tools, but a few tools. I'm going to show you these. What I have got is we've got a bit of scabby bit of timber that I'm going to use to prove a point. So I'm going to make some doors for my bathroom, and I'm using a bit of pallet. So what we've got, old bit of timber, setting out square, combination square, gauge, which we may or may not need, tape measure and a planer, and then a pencil. So bear with me, and we'll commence. Right, welcome back. So as part of the skill of being a joiner or a carpenter or something is the ability to use the timber that you've got to its best effect. So as you can see, this bit of timber's got loads of marks in it. It's got some old nail holes in. It's got a poor, sort of like a split old edge at the edge there, and it's got a knot. It's got a knot in. So we don't want to use what you're trying to do is to use the bits of timber which has as few blemishes as possible. Now I know that the door that I'm using is about 350 wide, and I'm going to use this timber as a rail for that. And if that's the case, then I know that 350 is there's 400, so I'm giving myself a bit of leeway. And what I can do is, by saying that, is I can cut out these nails here, and I can disregard that knot there. So what I'm going to do, I'll just do a rough square. I'm going to square that across there, and then I'll measure 400 across, 400 there. This gives me plenty of space. Measure that across, and then I'm going to cut that. And now I've got a pretty decent bit of timber to use what I want. So let's just cut that out. So now we have a bit of timber that's pretty much blemish free. But I've also got this little bit here, and the corner's gone. So what I'm going to do is we do something called picking. You've got to pick the face side and face edge. Now these are the edges that are going to be the least worked edges that you're going to work, and they've got to be, they're on view. So imagine the internal rails of a door is always on view. So I usually pick my face edge as the internal sides, because the external sides I'm going to plane those down, or there's a chance I'm going to plane those down. So because I've got this blemish on this side, I'm going to have that as not my face edge. So I'm picking this as my face edge, and I'm going to mark that, which is a bit pointless because I'm going to plane it down in a second. And then what I do is I say, well, okay, which is the nicest face edge? And it's difficult to pick, but this has got a little bit of a rough sort of line going through it and everything. I don't like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this as my face edge, and I'm going to mark that. So what you can see is I know that's my face edge. Right. Next job, I'm going to plane down the face edge and get that as smooth and as flat as I can. Going to need a planer and probably a straight edge as well. So you can use your combination. Use your combination square to get it on there and have a look along it. So at the moment you can see it's a little bit bowed and everything, but it should be alright. So get it in the vise. Have a look at the grain, and you always want to plane with the grain. So sometimes the grain will rise up like this, and if the grain is rising up, if you're playing this way, it'll all chip out. playing this way, it will chip out. If you're playing this way and you're going with the rise, then it will all just playing really nicely. But what you'll find is when you start playing in, if it starts to rip out, you're probably going the wrong way. And if you ever heard the expression, you're going against the grain, or don't go against the grain, then it really is true in timber, or in carpentry. Right, anyway, let me just, yeah, I could have said that more eloquently, couldn't I? But there you go. I'm not an eloquent person. Just talk to anyone at work. Right, so let's crack on. So sharpened your plane, got going, take it nice, yeah, playing quite nicely, but probably not as fast as I want. There was just the remnants of a notch just there, so it's going to be a little bit awkward, but let's put a little bit more cut on this. Ooh. For me, that's looking pretty good. And the whole idea of this is to get this square to the face side, and also flat. So let's take a couple of, get the square, and we have a look and we see whether the face side and the face edge are square to each other. Can you see that? No, you can't. Right, let's do that. So we just run it there. So I have to look at the window, and it's close. And for what we're trying to do, it's close enough. So again, I'm going to mark that as face side, face edge. So there are my two face sides and face edge. Now I'm going to do the opposite face edge, and the way I'm going to do that is I'll set this, and if you've got a set width that you want your timber to be, then great, set it to that. But if you haven't, then just set it to the max you can get. So I'm going to take a couple of mil off, and what I'll do, I'll just strike an edge against there. I'm not going to use a gauge, because if you put a gauge on, then you start to leave gauge marks. So a marking gauge is like, it's got a metal pin rather than a pencil's edge. And at this point, I'm just not going to do it because there's no need. So what I know now is that if I plane that off to there, then I've got that side is going to be parallel, and if I also do it square, then I know that my two edges are square to the face side. So let's do that. The back edge, which again we'll just take down. Just have a look at the way the grain's going. The grain's going up. So the grain's going up like that. So go this way. What we do? Get a gauge. So I know that here. So really you should measure the thickness and get it all down to thickness, but I haven't really got time for all that. So you look at that, and it's broadly about right. And if it's the same thickness, oh yeah, smack on. Right, now, there you go. So a bit of timber, planed up, face side, face edge. Now, when you're marking a joint, you mark everything off the face side or the face edge. And if I'm lucky, so what I'm saying is that if I want to cut the end off this bit of timber, what I'll do is I'll mark off the face side. I'll also mark off the face edge on this side, and then there. But I'll mark off this face side, off the face side to that side there. There you go. But then what I'll do is I'll mark off the face edge going that way. So you're always marking off a face side or the face edge. And there you go. And what will happen is when you do that, your line will align on the back side. Can you see that? Yeah, I think you can. So if you look at that, so that enables me to cut something off. Now, if I mark all the way around and not use the face edge, then, so if I just go, just mark, 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 then I don't think the lines will align, because you're probably not perfectly square. But let's see. And what that means is then you're cutting stuff out of square, and everything's gonna it's not gonna be accurate, and your joints aren't gonna align, and you're gonna get annoyed, and you'll probably throw your bit of timber in the bin. Ha ha ha, yeah. So what I'm gonna show, this is the perfect. So by marking, so remember what we did before. So we marked, I started here, I marked onto here, I marked onto here, and then what we've got is the lines don't line up, which is annoying, and you don't know what, so somewhere your marking has gone wrong, and that's because you haven't ensured that you mark up the face side and face edge, and that's the key to marking out. And if you're doing accurate stuff, you're doing joints, you're doing halving joints, doing mortise and tenon joints, dovetail joints, you must always follow this routine, and if you do that, you're on your way to success. Right. Can't really see me, can you? Okay, there you go. Right, there you go. That's how you prepare a bit of timber. It's fairly simple, fairly straightforward. You just stick to the face side, define your face side, define your face edge, and then stick to it and mark off that, and you will have no